Can I start? Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here this morning with you and to be the first speaker for the conference this year. I'm always happy to be part of the spine multidisciplinary teams in every possible way through my career. This year, the special thing that I'm doing at the conference is that I'm speaking about some of the work that the society has done. Last year I spoke about the transformation initiative, but this year I believe the presentation is more relevant and close to what the society is doing. I believe the reason this presentation was chosen to be the first one to start or kick off the Congress with is because of the importance of talking about practice guidelines. And so in the next 10 minutes or less, I'll go through some of what the society has done to date with regards to practice guidelines, but the driving or the take-home message is this slide. Why is it important? The reason practice guidelines are important are as a tool to achieve the triple aim: better care, good health, and lower cost. The triple aim is the overarching objective of any change in a healthcare system. And we are now going through an active transformation in our health and healthcare system around the nation. And the society in its role will play an important role in the big picture. As you can see from the society's mission statement, promoting excellence in spine care. So the story of the society was that last year, the board made a decision to establish a task force to have a discussion about practice guidelines. And a multidisciplinary task force was formed that deliberated and produced the outcome in October of 2017. And the main recommendation that this task force made was to create a permanent committee that is part of the society that is in charge of clinical practice guidelines. And you can see in this the decision letter by the board of directors. And this was also a document that further shows the commitment of the society to this as #1 conclusion of last year's society meeting. البدء بمشروع الأدلة الإرشادية للممارسة الكلينيكية للعمود الفقري والتواصل مع المركز السعودي لسلامة المرضى والجمعيات الصحية المعنية لدعوتهم لمشاركة في المشروع. What happened next was the committee was formed. I today speak on behalf of this committee and am a member of the multidisciplinary group that is chaired by Dr. Zulfa Reyes, who apologizes for not being with us today due to another commitment. She is a national figure in the field. She's a family physician with much experience in the establishment of clinical practice guidelines. Now, another statement for the commitment and importance of this committee and initiative is that 2 of the board members are involved in this committee. Dr. Hussam Al-Habib is a member, and Dr. Suhail Bajamal has been closely involved, pretty much functioning as a member of this committee throughout. And the committee charges were based on the board of directors' recommendations. So the committee had a number of meetings, including one big meeting and workshop in May of 2018, where the objectives and the plan were put together. And so I have a little summary of this. In this slide, I draw your attention to the underlined statement, and the mission is to promote the culture and practice of evidence-based spine healthcare, which is the essence of this initiative. In this, I show you the strategic plan, and you can see that it has several parts. The first one and the most important one is spreading the culture. The methodology used was to adapt the guidelines that exist, that were published and created by various societies. And when you look at the literature on practice guidelines, you find that the field is evolving, and it's quite interesting. The various types of methodologies that were done in various groups, the interest of the World Health Organization, the IHI, and we have a standard booklet that was developed by the Saudi Center for Evidence-Based Healthcare that is being used as our reference for establishing these guidelines. The committee developed a long list of practice guidelines that were shortened by the members. The top 15 were then circulated to the Saudi Spine Society members to prioritize. And the prioritizing, the result, and the process of prioritization was also seek interest from the society members in people who are interested in being part of the process of developing these practice guidelines. And so this is a draft of the life cycle: preparation, followed by adaptation, dissemination, implementation, and monitoring. I guess this is the slide that I wanted to spend a moment at. These are screenshots from the survey, and so how many of you recalls participating in the responses to the survey? Raise your hand. Great. So you're familiar with what the screens look like. At the end of the prioritization process, there was an important question. I'm interested to be part of the CBG adaptation team, and I'm ready to commit 2 to 3 hours a week for the coming 3 to 4 months. And you can see that this optional component of the survey includes some details on what is going to be involved in developing these guidelines. The important point to draw your attention to is the authorship and publication rights. And so the teams that will be involved in developing these practice guidelines will be part of the authorship and publication of these guidelines. So the outcome, we came up with the top 2 issues that the society believes we should address in the beginning, and a list of 15 people who are interested to develop these guidelines. Each practice guideline would need to have a multidisciplinary team that would work on adapting the existing guidelines on that subject. The top 2 choices were acute traumatic cervical spine injuries and acute and subacute low back pain. And speaking to the mission and vision of this society and the theme for this year of being a multidisciplinary society, you can see that the second one is a non-surgical option for developing practice guidelines. At the moment, you can find information on existing guidelines from international societies on the Saudi Spine website. Now, closing. So I would like, and the reason I'm doing this presentation today is the take-home message. Why is this important? The society board believes it's important. The members of the society believe it's important. And therefore, we need to show that we don't just think that it's important. The process involves building a culture of evidence-based practice. And this is not going to be an easy task. As I was looking into the literature and preparing for today's presentation, I'll come back to this in a second, I found this nice paper that I recommend you read. It also demonstrates the evolution in the field of developing guidelines, pathways, and clinical practice guidelines. As I read through this, I found a section on the development of guidelines. And guess what? The most common approach to CBG development seems to come, oh, this is my key message, don't cut me off. So the most common approach to CPG development seems to come from the efforts of small teams of dedicated volunteers, often working with minimal funding and variable understanding of CPG development methods to produce recommendations for practice in local settings. This is going to be extremely important. And I would like to seek whoever's interested in developing these guidelines to find me after the presentation. If I'm not here, find Dr. Suhail Bajamal, give your name and contact information. We will include you in the process. Before I close, I know my time is up. A long list of stakeholders. We're a transforming healthcare system. At the moment, people make decisions in facilities where no one's looking. And it depends on their ethics, it depends on their close-knit clinical teams that they're working with. As we go forward, we will need to have a more standardized and personalized practice. Many stakeholders are going to be interested to see the recommendations of the professional society in how to care for various conditions. And you can see the list of stakeholders up here, and I think there might be some that are still missing. Thank you very much.